What's up, guys? Pedro Doordash Santiago back at you with another daily vlog. So today is my reaction to the full interview rideshare guy did with the president of Doordash, as I call him, Mr. Painful. So it's like a 40-minute thing, 40-minute interview. I'm not going to show the entire interview. I'm going to show some clips as I watch it with you guys, and then I'm going to react to some things that were new that we hadn't already talked about. Some of you guys might have seen the interview. I don't know. To be honest, it's got 1,000 views in the last couple of days, so that's cool. But like, a lot of people haven't watched it, is what it tells me. I think there's a reason for that. I won't get into that on this channel, but shout out to the rideshare guy number one for getting this interview. He's an OG in this space. For those of you that don't know, I don't know how long he's been doing these gig economy stuff. It seems like he's very informative, and it's like a news thing. He shares news. I don't really see him doing things like in actual time like a lot of us do, and like actually doing that gig work. I got a message from one of his like assistants or something on an email saying, thanks for doing the reaction video, look for the few interview. So I don't know how, like, you know, it's a whole business over there. He's got 94,000 followers, but only 1,000 views. It seems odd. I don't understand how this stuff works, but anyways, shout out to him for getting the interview. And I also want to give a shout out to the president of Doordash for actually doing the interview. It seems like it was very scripted, but at the end of the day, he doesn't have to do this kind of stuff, at least not on YouTube. I'm sure they do interviews for other like news organizations and stuff like that, but it is what it is. So let's just get into it. All right, so this reaction we're going to do just like this, because that's what I got right now. So I give you guys nothing but the best quality of sound and audio. You guys ready? This is the beginning. I want to show you guys some stuff here.
Welcome to the Rideshare Guy Podcast, where you will learn about the rideshare and mobility industry, straight from Harry Campbell, who's got over 5 years experience covering the industry and has talked to thousands of drivers. There's no better place to stay up to date, entertained, and educated. So let's dive in.
So Christopher Payne is the newly minted president at Doordash, a technology company that connects customers with their favorite local and national businesses in more than 4,000 cities across the United States, Canada, and Australia. Starting with the restaurants, Doordash is building the infrastructure and logistics platform to allow any local merchant to deliver their merchandise and expand their business. Prior to joining Doordash in January 2016, Christopher led the North American business at eBay, ran the development of MSN Search, which is now Bing, and mapping for Microsoft, and led Amazon's expansion beyond books into video, electronics, wireless, PCs, and software. He holds a BA in U.S. history from Dartmouth College, and I'm excited to chat with him today. So, Chris, how are you doing?
So first off, his intro is real. I mean, like, that's good. So the places that Mr. Christopher Payne, the now lamented, I think he said, president of Doordash, has worked are massive corporate. He mentions Bing, eBay, Amazon, Microsoft. I mean, these are huge entities, right? So obviously he's done some cool stuff. I mean, you got to be proud when you work, you know, you should feel good when you're working with big companies. You're able to make a change, and it's logistics, and he's probably implemented a lot of new things. And hold on, guys, come on, babe, can you close the door? This is real time. My dogs want to be in here with me, but they're gonna make so many noises. So when he's worked for a lot of big companies, so I'm not surprised that the powers that be at Doordash said, hey, we got to get this guy to help us with our growth. All right, so first thing I think of. Secondly, Harry talked about, Doordash, any merchant, you want to have any merchant. We're going to deliver to any merchant. In my very humbled, what's the word I'm looking for? Ignorant point of view, because I'm not a business tech savvy guy. When I hear that, I think that's a horrible idea. You shouldn't allow any merchant to be on your platform. Just anybody? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, so I'm going to skip a little bit here, and I want to get to some of the bullet points. That was kind of the intro I wanted to talk about. Okay, so now we get into the beginning of the interview.
Yeah, you've got quite the impressive background in tech. Not a ton of work in mobility and logistics, though. So I'm curious to know, what does your role look like these days as, I guess now the newly minted president at Doordash?
I love that question. So he gives them credit You got a tech guy, a lot of background in tech, but not in mobility and logistics. Isn't that what we do as drivers? We're being mobile, and logistically we're getting orders that offers we get, and we're taking them logistically to places. And he kind of shades him there a little bit. He kind of shades him like, oh well, but you're the president, but you don't have a lot of background in mobility and logistics with DoorDash. So I kind of like that. And you see he's kind of smiling there. You see that? And he's looking down. He's like, yeah, he got me there. How am I going to answer this?
Well, I may be a newly minted president, but I've been at DoorDash for now 5.5 years. So
Right.
it's been explosive growth since the very, very beginning. My main responsibilities over the last 5 years have been focused on growing out DoorDash across the United States and Australia and Canada.
Yeah.
And doing that principally with restaurants. So we have 450,000 restaurants. We've also expanded across the United States. When I started, we were in, I think it was 16 markets, big cities at the time. And now we're regularly launching towns of less than 20,000. We cover about 85% of Americans. One day I got a notice that said now dashing in Owensboro, Kentucky, which is where I grew up. And I was just like, okay, we're going to be.
I've been saying this for a long time, and I'm nobody. It's not about what I heard there. It's not about quality of service. It's quantity. This man was brought into DoorDash, this guy right here, to grow the brand. All companies do it. If you're a big and good company, you want your company to grow. That's what it is. It's revenue. It's market share. Let's not kid ourselves here, okay? He was brought in to do that because he did it with other companies. Kudos to him. Respect, it's fine, I get it, right? But he's talking about how since I've come on, we're only in 16 big cities. Now we're all over the place. We cover 85% of America. Now we're even in my little small town of Kentucky. So he's just wanting to grow the brand. He wants every merchant possible. He wants to be in every city in America, every small town, any backwoods area, every big city. His goal and his bonus and his pay structure is based on probably how much market share and how much growth we can be. It's not about the quality. DoorDash has kind of shown us that in a way, okay? It's about quantity, not quality. They just want to be all over the place. They want to push out tens of millions of orders a day without really thinking or caring about the experience from the Dasher's perspective and the customer's perspective. Because they know that if we do 10 million orders a day and 1 million of them are trash, it's fine. 9 million of them are good, and they're able to justify that.
So my main responsibilities are sort of running the restaurant marketplace at DoorDash, and now focusing also on going beyond restaurants with convenience, grocery, and others.
Very cool. Yeah, no, and I'm excited to chat about convenience and groceries because you guys have made some big strides there. But there's also a lot of competition. So we'll put that on the back burner for now. And I actually quickly looked it up because I think you mentioned you started January 2016. I pulled up a quick video here on YouTube titled My First Delivery with DoorDash, How It Went, How Much I Made. And that was published on December 15th, 2015. So I just narrowly beat you.
Yes, no, I was involved in discussions with Tony during that time, and so I probably did my first dash at the same time you did your first dash.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. It's bringing back memories because I remember my first dash was a Cane's Chicken in Orange County, and I did I did a good job with the delivery, but I actually then ended up ordering food because it was a good-looking fried chicken place. So, it kind of cut into your earnings if you're ordering every time for yourself.
That
right?
would cut in a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, talking about dashers, you mentioned that, you did your first dash then, and, I've done some dashing myself, and let's start with dashers. I mean, tell me about your...
Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of some of this. So these guys are getting ready to talk about here in a minute. You'll see it. That Tony has his execs or whatnot do dashing. I don't think they say how often. They probably have him do it. It could be once a year. It could be 4 times a year. Harry, I don't think Harry's doing any dashing right now, guys, which is fine. He's to a point where maybe he doesn't have to do it. Good for him. But I say that because I'm not taking their opinion about dashing and what we go through. I'm taking that with a grain of salt, and I'm not. If this president of DoorDash dashes 4 times a year, probably dashing in his lush community, his experiences aren't going to be real. And I'll share with you guys just my from coming from the corporate background in the restaurants that I worked at. It's like if the president of the casino, okay, and I worked with one that was really fabulous, actually. I won't mention his name. He was a really good guy. Learned a lot from him. He was very hands-on during the pandemic. Anyways, but it'd be like if I asked him, or his boss asked him, hey, why don't you go in the steakhouse tonight? I want you to cook a steak and experience what the cooks do. So the restaurant opens at 5 o'clock. It's like if he came in and cooked the first order. The kitchen's clean. He has everything he needs there. There's no other tickets. He just has to focus on that one. Yeah, that guy can probably do that. No pressure. But could these gentlemen dash on a Friday night at 7 o'clock? No. Could the president of a casino cook the line when there's 50 chits and you got to cook and you got servers screaming at you? No, they couldn't do it. It's not their job title. So when they're talking about we have to dash to know what it's like, I want to laugh at that because that's it's such a I'm going to put these things in place in my big business to say that we dash, and so we feel the experience of the dashers. That is a crock of baloney. It's such a big company way of thinking because a lot of these companies, some do. I'm going to give credit to some and actually have their people go out and they do training for weeks at a time. And, that's not what these guys are getting ready to talk about. Like, they're flexing like, when I dash, I do. He talks to, I want to have you guys watch it, but to me, that's why I named him Painful, because it's painful to watch somebody want to get credit for doing something so insignificant.
I guess experience. I guess it's interesting to start with that you've actually done a little dashing yourself, at least in the early days. How close are you with the dasher experience and community these days?
Very, very close to the community. I mean, the way to think about DoorDash, right, is no one wants DoorDash delivered, right? I mean, they want their favorite restaurant delivered. And so the way I think about it is DoorDash is a three-sided marketplace, right? So you've got consumers, you've got merchants, restaurants principally, and you've got dashers, right? And so you have to basically, and DoorDash does this, I think, very well, treat each of those as constituents, right? Because if you don't have customers, then it's not gonna, and if you're not delighting them, they're not gonna come back. And then if you don't have restaurants, then and of course, if you can't bring them the food with the technology platform and the Dasher network we built, so we very much treat dashers as a key customer base. And one of the programs Tony Xu, our founder CEO, instituted early on was dashing. And so we as employees dash regularly, and I think it's fantastic because you get to see the experience end to end and walk a mile in a dasher's shoes. And obviously we listen to dashers as well, but it really helps bring it to life about how to evolve and improve the experience.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've been, able, my team has been able to sort of so successfully really dig into the gig economy, because we can actually.
Well, Harry and his team, he's got a team. Good for Harry. So he said regularly. Tony has him dash regularly. Harry, that is your time to say how regularly do you dash? That's a follow-up question. A good interviewer would ask that question, and he doesn't. Regularly to somebody could be once a year, could be once a week, could be once a month, once a quarter. We don't know. I want to know. And he says that Chris says, or Mr. Painful says, we get feedback from our dashers. I don't see that they use that feedback. I wonder how they. It'd be nice if they were more transparent and told us. We get these weekly emails about dasher stuff, and they're thing that's going on in the dash world, which is good. But I don't really see a lot of information about the things that they ask us really being implemented or looked at. And I think that's what we really care about. You know what I'm saying? We really care about stuff like that. But anyways, hold on. Sorry, my dogs needed me. So, that would have been a good point to ask. What is regularly to you, right? How often do you dash? What market do you dash in? What did you make when you dash? Have you guys thought about filming your dash to show dashers that you're actually doing it? These are the things good companies, transparent companies do. If Mr. Christopher Payne and Tony and these execs had film of audio and video of them like dashing and going through issues and working through them. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'd gain a little bit of respect for them as execs. And you know, I think it would be funny to watch. And you know, these are the things I think these big companies need somebody like me on a council to ask these kind of questions, and in a way of, like I've always said, you know, I don't want to just ask for everything for us, because that's not real. That's not reality. That's not how companies work. But I can come up with, and a lot of us can have ideas. How is it going to benefit DoorDash? Number one, that's what they want to know. So all my ideas and thoughts would be, they're going to benefit them, the customer, and us. It's got to be the rock symbol. It's got to be the trifecta. It's got to be a triangle. Okay. So right here, they start talking about the worker shortage as far as the gig economy drivers, and Harry talks about, you know, I can see it, but he said, oh, Uber sent me a thing, do 3 trips, make $100. I got that same thing months ago. So these companies will offer you incentives if they see you haven't been on the platform for a while. They want to get you back. It's smart. Okay. So he's getting ready to ask them some questions about how is DoorDash done with the worker shortage and things. So let's look at this real quick.
We've handled it very well. I think a few differences. So one is, as you know, DoorDash was able to operate throughout the pandemic. I think one of the things that's easy to forget is that back in March of 2020, it wasn't obvious that was going to be the case, right? Yeah. So there's been no sort of stopping, food delivery and then restarting. And so I think that's one of the differences. Although we were affected back in Q1 when the $1.9 trillion stimulus hit, there was a demand spike. But I think we were able to adjust very quickly.
That was Q1 of 2020.
2021.
2021. Got it.
And but I think it's very important to understand the distinctions between dashing and rideshare, right? So, our audience obviously tends to be younger. Our minimum age is 18. It tends to skew more female than male, perhaps because of the you don't have to have somebody ride in your car. Yeah. And you also don't even.
Are you saying there's more female than male dashers across the board?
There is about 50-50, believe it or not.
Interesting.
But if you look at rideshare, it's about, I think the numbers I've seen are 15 to 20%.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Are female, and so other differences, right? A two-door car is totally fine to deliver a burrito. You're not going to have that in a rideshare situation. And in cities, you can do bikes, mopeds, and these. So the addressable market for is just much larger than it is for rideshare, and I think that speaks to the ease of getting on the platform, and has helped us be able to have enough dashers on the road to meet the demand.
Yeah, I mean.
So they're talking about driver shortages. How are you guys doing? That's fine, but Harry, let's get into the meat and potatoes of what affects drivers. I feel like this interview is just to tout DoorDash and what we do good and what we, it's not about the dasher at all. Why don't you ask questions like, how do you figure out how many dashers you need in a certain market? Where's that number come from? Do you think it's oversaturated? Some dashers think there's too many dashers. I know you want to be in every merchant. You want to have every merchant, but what is the dasher ratio per restaurant? These are questions that that are more beneficial rather than just talking about percentages of drivers that are this gender or and why and rideshare and that. It's just not. We're not really getting anything from this, and you're probably not getting anything from my reacting to it. But you know what? I want to react to it because I just want to get it out of my mind, and I want to, once I get it out of my mind, I can kind of move on. So, and I told you guys I'd do a reaction, and I expected this interview to be better than it was. You probably expected this reaction to be better than it was, but I expected a little more. I expected harder questions, not harder to challenge and test and ooh, we got you, Mr. Painful, but just harder in the way that it would allow us to get better information, and actually have them answer questions that are really relevant.
customer base. And one of the programs Tony Xu, our founder CEO, instituted early on, it was, dashing. And so, we as employees dash regularly. And I think it's fantastic because you get to see the experience end to end. And walk a mile in a
How often do you dash?
Obviously, we listen to dashers as well, and it really helps
Ask him
life about
how often
to evolve and improve the experience.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've been, able to, my team has been able to sort of like so successfully like really dig into the gig economy, because we can actually go out and try new products and features. You can really learn a lot about the companies. I mean, right now there's this huge, driver shortage.
Well, it is a lot of drivers, and it's obviously a lot of earning potential with that $2.5 billion in Q1. But the other stat you said is the reason there's 2 million drivers, right? It's that the average dasher is doing 4 hours of delivery. 90% of dashers dash for 10 hours or less a week, and so in order to cover 85% of Americans, right, you've got to have dashers everywhere, basically. And so that's
90% of dashers dash, what do you say, 10 hours or less a week? That's probably, I'm sure they have numbers to back that up. So most of the people that are watching this and watch YouTube and follow me, myself included, and the YouTube content creators that we're dashing more than 10 hours a week. So we fall in that 10% aisle, most of us guys. When I hear that, I kind of feel like, wow, the 90% of people that are dashing, 90% of dashers, so 90% of that 2 million, which is a lot of people, do the math. These are the people that are probably not watching maybe the content out there created to help them make more money, because they're not dashing as much, and their time is, maybe valued differently because they have other jobs, and they're just going out on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday afternoon for 2-3 hours at a time, a couple times a week. So these are the people I would love to get more information to, because I think that, I don't know, maybe these are some of the people taking the bad orders. Also, the other side of that is these are the ones maybe just holding off for the big unicorn orders. And they're just like, I'm only gonna, dash for these many hours. I'm only taking orders that are $10 and above, and that can hurt us in other ways. So I find that what he said very interesting, actually.
That's one of the key reasons for that. But that just blows my mind, like that it's grown that rapidly. During the height of the pandemic, March through September, 3 million new dashers entered the platform during that period of time. So, at a time when tens of millions of people were either unemployed or underemployed, you know how easy it is. You literally open the app and you can sign up and do the background check, and then you're dashing a couple days later, and you're able to earn. And so it was a backstop, if you will, during the pandemic for a lot of people.
Yeah, and so I think
So Mr. Painful just said it blew his mind that during a pandemic, more people, that they were able to get all these drivers. Wow, why did that blow your mind? You should have known that. You have a delivery company, and people aren't working, and or the ones that are working or have to stay at home. So it blows your mind that, and there was a lot of states were closed or cities were closed, like you couldn't go anywhere. It blew your mind that people were going to want to order food, and then the people that were laid off were going to try to make money a different way. You didn't expect to get more dashers? I don't believe you. I think you were just saying it blew my mind to kind of sound funny and cool. I don't know how you could be surprised that people would want to dash or need to dash during the pandemic. I don't understand that. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys let me know in the comments, but I could have told you that. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. All right, so this clip, they're going to talk about stacking, bundling orders. Harry kind of presses him on, do you think the food integrity when you stack an order, I have, like the time of it, the customer experience, the dasher experience, like, he's asking him about, like, why do we bundle orders and things like that. So let's get into that.
This is one thing that a lot of companies always point to in regards to unit economics or getting profitable. And, I think unlike, an Uber pool, right, where you pick up 2 passengers, maybe it takes a little longer for the second passenger to get to their destination, they still get to their destination, right? With food, the integrity, the quality of the food is actually deteriorating with every single minute, that it takes. So that's sort of why I've always been quite skeptical on the batching of actual food deliveries. I'm curious how you think about the two.
Yeah, I would. There's two different use cases for batching. One is not good, and the other is good. And so I think this is why there's some confusion. So let's go back to the dashing questions earlier about making sure there's the right number of dashers on the road. So in a state where you don't have enough dashers and there's more demand, then one of the fallbacks is to have dashers do multiple deliveries at the same time, right? That's less than desirable, right? But it's more desirable than not
being able to fulfill. Yeah,
right. But I consider that to be an error state that we want to get. We want, and that doesn't happen very often on DoorDash, but we want to get rid of it.
Okay,
right. And then
it doesn't happen very often on DoorDash. In my market, I can only speak to my market. Okay, I don't know. You guys got to challenge me on this and let me know in your markets. It happens. I get stacked orders all the time. I get orders where I picked up one and they add another one all the time. I would say over 50%. I would say 70%. If I include the Walmarts, which I'm not going to include those though, because those are different experiences. 60 to 70% of my orders are stacked. Either they start that way or they end up that way. So for him to say it doesn't happen often is, I don't know where he's getting that information from.
The second scenario, which is, I think people underestimate this. So when you get to DoorDash's scale, so we have 54% market share and obviously a multi-billion-dollar food delivery business in the United States. What happens is you get so much volume to an individual store, hundreds and hundreds of orders, that you literally are having people in the same building order at the same time from the same store, right? And if you were just to step back and not look at the technology or anything like that, and a dasher showed up and you're looking at these two orders, you're like, oh, you should take both these orders, right? Because you're going to that area, right? And just drop them off. And what you find is the second order can be delivered, in a time that's like incredibly satisfying to the customer. And so with more scale comes more of those opportunities. And the dashers ultimately, the same store batching going in the same direction, right? That's an incremental earning opportunity for them. What you don't want to do is have two different stores far apart, two different pickups, and consumers in the opposite direction, right? That would not be. And so this is one of the things that DoorDash, I think, has done very well. It's a technological problem. If you our most sophisticated tech, our best scientists, if you will, are in this component of the system. And if you look back, on how did DoorDash get to number one in market share, it wasn't because we had more money than our competitors. They often had many orders of magnitude more money.
I would agree with some of the things he's saying about a lot of my stacks, the ones I do, they can be convenient. The proximity of merchant pickup is usually the same merchant or one that's next door or down the road. And then the drop-offs are usually pretty good. Sometimes I get crazy ones like that doesn't make sense. But to his point, he talked earlier in the video, he talked about like, oh, well, if you go to the same store and like, the proximity where the drop-off is, they should be like, oh, you should take both of these because it's in the same building maybe or down the street. That's true, but we work for money. And my point with this is, Mr. Painful, if you want us to take more orders up the base pay, it's very simple. You've decreased the base pay since the start of this company. You've decreased my base pay since I started. You've decreased millions of dashers' base pay. That's why we're upset. I think that's the number one. That's right up there with transparency as far as why we want to be heard. So if you want us to take more of these bundled orders because it saves you guys money, because the base pay is lower, we all know that, and it saves the consumer money because the second order gets a discount, I'm fine. You got to make money. It's economics, right? You have a business to run. But if you want us to take more orders, if you want me to take that first Taco Bell for $6 and then you want to stack it with a $2 order, nobody's taking that. We shouldn't. Make it worth our while, and your customer will get their stuff quicker. It's very simple. Check this out.
And I would actually say three things helped us to a lead. Number one, we had a philosophy that
Talking
it
about the
sounds
market share
obvious
lead.
now, which was we wanted to have every restaurant on the platform.
Every restaurant.
And the reason
Every restaurant,
for
without
that
them
is
knowing,
Tony's
they want
vision,
every
if you remember,
restaurant.
was to connect every business. And so we never really debated whether we could like thread the needle and only have a set number of restaurants, right? Like 3 sushi places. We wanted to have them all. Turns out that's a good idea because then you're pretty much guaranteed to have the restaurants that consumers that consumers want, right? And the other the other thing that did is that we had to build all these services to get all these restaurants, right? So DoorDash Drive, DoorDash Storefront, DoorDash Pickup. We fax orders into restaurants. We integrate with their point of sale. We have Bluetooth printers. We basically did everything. So selection. Second one was we expanded into the suburbs faster than our competitors. Honestly, that's the reason.
And anyways, he thinks it's a great idea that they're everywhere, even without the consent or knowledge or relationship of the restaurant. DoorDash thinks we're everywhere. We want to be everywhere. Quantity over quality. And there's a lot of different ways to run a business, and obviously they have 54% market share, so they're doing something right. They're doing things right. They're doing some things right. I'm not a fool to say they're not. But I have a YouTube channel that talks about Dasher experience, and when you have this guy, we just want to be everywhere. We want to be everywhere. It hurts us. Sometimes it can hurt us because we have to run into situations, and that is where they need our feedback. And I'm not going to get into much more. I just want to show you guys some of the key things I saw. Harry, shout out to you for getting the interview. You had a thing in there, a clip that said, if you want to see more questions, comment below. I don't know why that's there because this was for us to comment, the interview's already happening. So I'm not sure what that really means. Maybe this interview, I don't know. I don't even know when this was taped. So maybe he's going to do a second interview, and the comments below he'll ask those questions, which would be really cool. But I thought you asked really good questions from an analytical business standpoint. But I thought you missed the bar from the Dasher experience, and you kind of put your toe in it, and Mr. Painful put his toe in it, but you made it seem like Dashers have it kind of easy, and everything's made great for them, and like, oh, I dash and my kids dash and everything's fine. And sometimes that could be the case, but we really didn't talk about the key issues of the things that we deal with. Customers that lie, merchants that aren't aware that they're on the platform, and it makes it hard on us. Long wait times, low base pay, like things that really kind of affect us. You didn't really hit some of those points, I didn't think. So listen, I don't have a lot of subs. I have some loyal subs. I don't have 94,000 subs like Mr. Rideshare has, so kudos to him. But it's not about a sub count for me. But what I'm asking from my subs or anybody that sees this, if you're not subbed, hit the sub button. Share this video. I want to get it to the president of DoorDash. Christopher Payne is his name. I've been calling him Painful. Some of you guys might not like that, but this interview was painful to watch because I thought we had a platform to ask some good questions, and I think we missed the mark, if I'm being honest. Maybe there's a follow-up. Maybe this was just, and maybe Mr. Rideshare guy couldn't ask the questions because DoorDash wouldn't allow those. So I have no idea. That's probably likely. They said, ask these kind of questions and keep the interview like this because we're not going to be transparent. So I wouldn't be surprised by that. But to get this guy on the channel, get him to actually answer questions is cool. But I thought we could have got more bang for our buck if we asked just a few more choice questions and had some better follow-up questions. As he said something, there should have been a little more follow-up. Let him talk, but like organically, the interview should have went. It shouldn't have been as scripted. It could have organically just went, oh, well, okay, how often do you dash? Your son dashes? You get feedback from your son? What kind of feedback are you really getting? How much does he really dash? Like, you talk about the bundling and like, well, why do you pay him less per order when it's bundled, like base pay? Like, what's the rationale behind that? Anyways, I want to get this video to Mr. Christopher Payne. Christopher Payne, this is my challenge to you. If you see this, you probably won't, but you might. I feel like there's a 5% chance you might see this. 5% chance, maybe. If you're a company and you're looking at people doing things, you might see this. Somebody will see it. Somebody will see this. And if you know Christopher Payne, if you work with him, if you're his family member, if you're his friend, this is my challenge to you, Mr. Christopher Payne. I will book my own flight to come to your area where you dash regularly, and we'll dash together. I'll rent a car on my dime, flight on my dime, rent a car on my dime. I'll take a week out of my time making money for me and mine's to dash with you for one day. One day, 4-hour shift, not even a full shift. We'll do lunch or dinner or breakfast. You pick it, your market, let's dash together. We could tape it for my channel. I think it would help you as far as transparency with your fellow dashers. And let's dash together. And maybe we have a great dash. Maybe we have a bad dash. But let's dash together. And let's me ask you some questions. And you give the few people that follow me some love and some support and some answers. And let's dash together. The other part of that challenge is, I know I'm rambling, but I'm almost done. Everything we make to that day goes to a charity of your choice. We can dash in your neck of. You give me 1 day notice. I'll be Mr. Christopher Payne. I'll be in your area. I will dash with you. I'll fly myself out. I'll rent the car. Any car you want, I will rent. If you need a Benz, I'll rent a Benz. If you need a Range Rover, I'll rent a Range Rover. Whatever you're comfortable with. And I say that because I'm being honest. Whatever, I will do it. I'll float all of it. We'll dash together on my account. And all the money that we make goes to your charity of your choice. That's my challenge to you. My challenge to the rideshare guys, get them on an interview again. I would love to collaborate with you. And I'll ask the hard questions. You can ask the easy questions. You throw him the fastballs right down the middle. I'll throw him some curveballs. And I think that would actually make for better content. I love you guys. Pedro Doordash Santiago, out.